Troy, obviously now a new week. Your team's 7-2, coming off a huge win against Army. Just kind of talk a little bit about 9 games into the season, what you're liking about your team with a couple left to go here.
Well, is the ability to look forward. I think that's what it's the way you need to live. Is to go for us. Our sole focus is to get better, and we do a pretty good job of that. And really, the only day you're able to truly control in that regard is today. And our guys, that's the way that you meet. It's the way that you work in the weight room, and then fundamentally to improve, which for us, we know we have to make a step up and a big time way for who we face here down the stretch of the season.
Coach, looking back to last weekend just one more time, how fun was that, especially for your senior class?
I think probably if you asked each one, they concur. You know, it was and yet at the same time, like I said, we've moved on, and that's just the way we operate around here. We move forward. Maybe a little bit of that is, when your mom was an emergency room nurse, you knew the single most important thing there was is to move forward, which you have to do in life.
Looking at New Mexico, how dangerous is a team like this? They're still looking for their first conference win, really nothing to lose on their end.
Well, talent-wise, you just won't face a more talented team this season. You look at, golly, you've been down there. What's it been? Like the last 3 times we've been down there, I think, for the most part, we've, as a team, we've had, I think, I want to say 8 turnovers. Probably had, I think, 5 sacks. Held them to about 380 yards a game. That's rushing. And I think we've held them to, and this is a team stat, just because of how many short fields there have been, have held them only to about 48 points a game down there. And obviously they have different conduits and different pipelines to talent that are pipelines that we don't have. And that's the reality of any time that we play them in any sport here at the Air Force Academy.
So a lot of tough numbers there. How do you guys tighten it up and get the win this weekend?
Yeah, well, you'll have to be more than tighten it up that way. Yet, I'll also say this: we're also a different team. This year's squad is a different squad from what we had 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, and so each team takes on its own little approach. And this team's done a really, really good job. We'll have to be immensely focused. And, they're just so big and so active. And I think more than anything else, just how well they throw the ball down the field on the offensive side of it, too. The ball goes vertical as much as anybody will play this year.
And Isaiah Sanders getting another nod today for his work in the community. Can you just speak? I know we've talked about this quite a bit this year, but just how big he's been for your program in that way.
Well, he remarkable young man. Very, very dependable. And, it's not so much what he says, although when he does have something to share, there's plenty of wisdom. And, that's heartfelt that way. And yet just by his actions, just speaks immensely.
Troy, another big week for Duval Jackson. Can you talk about his continued growth, especially what he's been able to do, I think 4 or 5 now 100-yard games in a row? He's only a sophomore.
He may have some good days in front of him, too. You think of perhaps even adding some more power and more strength on his lower body. And the other aspect of it, though, too, it does help having Taven Bordeaux and Christian Mallard every single day to work alongside. And then obviously incredibly well coached, the job that Ben Miller does. And so, that also has to mean, too, if a fullback's getting going, especially as close as they are near the line of scrimmage and the way we line up, then there have to be some pluses going on up front, too. And I think deep down Duval he realizes that's the case.
With that entire backfield, with Bordeaux and with Remsburg, do you remember recently having a backfield with that much talent at one time? Because really, whoever's getting the ball seems like they're making big plays. Joshua Stoner had a touchdown last game. I mean, there are a lot of options back there.
Well, and there's some good things happening, to be repetitive here, within the offensive line. Yet, again, I will say this. We will need to block unlike we've blocked this year, and we'll have to run unlike we've moved this year. You know, for who we face here down the stretch of the season, especially here in this next game. We're real. We live with our feet on the ground until we got to go fly an F-16. I mean, that's the way we operate here.
Just want to ask you off of that because I watch you at the end of games and you seem so poised and cool and calm. I mean, it was another goal line stop there for your team to win it. How do you stay so composed? Do you do yoga? I mean, what is it? What do you do?
You know, I do it before the game and at halftime too. No, I mean, you just, you know, you think of, there does have to come some point where you do trust your training. And we try to go through as many scenarios and the rehearsal and the replication, and you don't perfectly replicate that. I mean, we have our short, you know, areas where we always are going to look to improve, and you know, that's just part of the way we work.
I don't know if you saw the news this morning from Albuquerque.
Did.
Do you want to offer any statement or thoughts?
I mean, it's your heart goes out to the young man's soul and to their family and to the people there in the community.
Have you ever been a part of a team that's lost someone during the season?
You know, we did. We had an opponent. We played in Denver. That would have been in. This would have been. You have to go back and look at this exactly. I want to say it was in August 2005. During a game, we played the 49ers, and during a game, right at the end of a game, something was similar.
Was there any discussion at all? I know in baseball last year, New Mexico lost a player and they canceled the series with Air Force that weekend. Was there any discussion about this game that you were part of?
Yeah, that's just not something that usually includes a coach.
And when you look at New Mexico's running game, are there any principles they're borrowing from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or is it a totally new?
No, absolutely there is. You know, I think that very much shows up in the way they run the football, especially, you know, with their backs where they're aligned. Some of the things that they do, even with some of their read game with the quarterback back there, and I mean, they're talented. I mean, incredibly talented. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would say they're averaging like 6 yards a play on offense, and they've played against pretty darn good teams too. And it seems like it's even more so whenever they play at home.
I know they mentioned Isaiah Sanders. Kyle Johnson also got a national award for off the field and on the field stuff. What has he meant to the defense and to the program?
I mean, just a ton of spirit and a ton of soul that he has. And he plays that way, lives that way. I don't know if you could, you know, there are probably some guys you bring in here just naturally that, you know, golly, not just because somebody's 23 or 24, they could be 40 and they do it. And maybe they get a little worked up even here with you guys, especially you catch somebody after a game and the adrenaline's going through him a little bit. But he knows he's pretty steady in the way he approaches everything that he does.
And how important is he to DeMonte Meeks and the rest of that linebacker room too?
He, you know, the example, how involved he is even in special teams, and just the way he works, very much so.
And then another defender, Zane Lewis. What kind of improvement has he shown during his time here?
You know, he played very, very well. You know, probably the parts not only with a couple of pass breakups, but also in terms of some times where his teeth literally are on a tackle.
Where his teeth are literally?
I mean, I don't know how else they can get to it that much closer than that, but I mean, his chin and his teeth are, you know, there was plenty of bite.
And I know you've never offered comparisons between players you coach, but where would he rank over your last maybe 8 or 9 years in terms of his cornerback play?
You answered the question at the beginning there.
Would you like
He's
to?
his own person. He's improved. You know, I think it's how many times it goes to not only, you know, there are a few factors, I think, certainly that come into play often, but for him specifically, being older, being stronger, having a better grasp of the system, having a much better understanding of the defense. Those are two different things. I say the system, just, you know, the holistic part of what we do within the program. And yeah, when I say, you know, just physically, emotionally, I mean, just every bit of it, the growth, there's been very good growth.
And real quick, back to the fullback position. Has that been a pleasant surprise at all, especially given
Not really.
the turnover at that position this year?
Not really, not at all. Was it for you?
I would not have expected it to be a strength the way it was when you lose a player.
I wouldn't. Not at all. I mean, I think, if anything, I thought, you know, when we started there in August, I thought, and it probably confirmed every instinct that you had back in the spring. Now, it doesn't always turn out that way. So nobody's all-knowing. I mean, really. There's some things you may see and observe, and you think, okay, that could go down that path. And there are times that's not the case. I mean, it's no different if you think the Astros are going to win in 6 and they don't. Sometimes you miss. 5, yeah, exactly.